everybody. Welcome to the show. Around the Nation right here, TYT Nation. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf. Welcome. A couple minutes late. I'm sure everybody's noticed that. I apologize for the delays on that. I had some things that held me up a little. But we're here. We got a good show for you guys today. So stick around. We've got... Well, okay, let me do the breakdown. Yesterday, I talked about what happened in London. The terrorist attack in London. There are new details on that. I'm gonna break that down real quick here. Then we've got the Gorsuch nomination. I believe I've spilled coffee on myself. Fail. Sad. Baby. So, again, one of those things when you're in a hurry, that shit happens. So, I think maybe I'll take another minute here to go and fix that. So we'll be back in a second. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. We had some issues. So we're back, and we have Gray. By the way, I know you guys were we're trying to figure out what shirt is he going to come back with. Came back with Gray. So, hey, look, if anybody had guessed right, I wouldn't have anything to give them anyway. But except for kudos. So. Anyway, luckily the coffee was slightly cold. Again, something that happens when you're in a rush. But again, we're back. Yes, we're running super late today. Unforeseen circumstances. But again, we've got great stories. So, now as I told you in the breakdown, we've got the more details on the London attack. We've got the Gorsuch nomination. We also have Trump being ridiculous, of course. Then what we have, more stuff. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. Oh, I'm going to go after them again. They keep doing it, man. They keep doing it. And finally, Oklahoma. There's a state representative that thinks rape and incest is the will of God. I kid you not. We've got that story. We've got video on that, actually. So, again, we've got a great show here today. A lot of stuff in it. So, technical issues aside, other issues aside, coffee issues aside, we got a show. So, and it's going to be great. Tremendous, fantastic. All right. Anyway, so before I get to it, programming note. I will not be on live tomorrow. There will be no live show tomorrow. I have meetings once every month on a Friday. So it just happens to fall tomorrow. So I've got meetings all day. So we won't have any live shows, but I might have some clips. So keep an eye out for that. Anyway, so there's that. Patrons, thank you for keeping us afloat, basically. With your donations, patreon.com/TYTNation, supporting independent progressive journalism and independent progressive media. Thank you so much to the patrons for helping us out. So, with all that aside, let's get into the stories. Wasted enough time. Let's talk London. New details about the lone attacker that killed 4 people and wounded many in a terrorist attack have came out. Now, according to CNN, this attacker has been named. It is British-born Khalid Masood. Now, again, you're gonna listen to that name. You're gonna be like, of course, Khalid Masood. Now, Masood is a 52-year-old, as I said, British-born native with past criminal convictions. Now, his criminal past basically includes assault and possession of weapons. So, obviously, quite a checkered past for this guy, but never any sort of instances of domestic terrorism, just possession of weapons and assault. Now, Masood apparently had been inspired to do this attack by the Islamic State, but there were no direct ties. Now, among the injured in the attack, you had 12 Britons, 3 French school children, 2 Romanians, 4 South Koreans, 2 Greeks, 1 German, a Polish person, 1 Irish, 1 Chinese, 1 Italian, and 1 American. And among the dead is 1 Spaniard and 1 American. So there's what we know so far of the victims and of the attacker. Now, the assailant, of course, used a vehicle to run over as many people as possible, and then used a knife to kill one of the police officers. So that was one of the 4 deaths. So immediately you have parallels to Nice and Belgium. And of course, what happened yesterday was 1 year to the day of the attacks in Belgium. So likely this was inspired by the Belgium attacks. Now, and that's because it followed the same kind of MO, right? Using cars and knives and things that are easily obtainable and not exactly illegal to inflict maximum damage on civilians in order to get a lot of attention. And it has succeeded in that. It has gotten a lot of attention. Now, what we know here so far is that he acted alone. He wasn't actually acting in accordance to others. So it's a lone wolf type of attack. Now, ISIS, according to reports, is claiming responsibility for the attacks, but of course they always do. Anytime somebody does something crazy, ISIS usually jumps in and says, it was us. Well, no, there's no record of any sort of interaction between you two. Yes, maybe he was inspired by you and by some of the earlier attacks, but you had nothing to do with it. You're just coming in and claiming the glory. So-called glory. Which is horrific because, of course, that's what ISIS wants. ISIS wants all the attention on them. Now, again, there was no evidence that ISIS planned the attack. Now, CNN also notes that the attacker, just like in the case of Belgium, was also once investigated for extremist links, but was not part of the current intelligence picture according to Britain's Prime Minister Theresa May. Now, she also added that he was a peripheral figure. The case was historic. He was not part of the current intelligence picture. There was no prior intelligence of his intent or of the plot. Intensive investigations continue. So this is a story that is building. Okay, we are still building up the story. We're still trying to get the facts around and everything. And this right now is what we know. It's developing. Now, here's the thing that's important to note. He was already investigated. So what they found is, well, they didn't find anything linking him to any terror groups. So no ties to ISIS, no communications to ISIS, and no ideas that he would perpetrate this attack, despite having a prior record of violence. So very interesting. Now, if they had any sort of evidence that he was speaking with ISIS or coordinating with ISIS, that would actually make it easier to stop. It would make it harder for him to perpetrate these kinds of attacks. So, in a way, there's kind of a bright side. I don't think that we're going to see any sort of large-scale 9/11 types attacks anymore. That takes planning, communication, coordination. All that stuff can be tracked. Our governments have gotten pretty goddamn good at tracking these things, at tracking terrorists and tracking communications. Hell, they track our communications. So they've gotten pretty good at this. So that's why it's unlikely, I think, in my opinion, that we're not going to see any sort of massive 9/11 style attack. Now, there's a bad side to this as well, in that lone wolves attack like this are going to increase. And that's because they're very, very tough to predict and to put a stop to. It's much more difficult to stop these types of lone wolf attacks, especially when the perpetrator isn't using anything that's illegal. A knife, you can get a knife anywhere, and everybody's got a car. So this makes it very, very difficult to be able to stop these types of terror attacks. Now, despite such difficulties in preventing these attacks, British security officials have been pretty proud of their record of being able to stop some of these attacks. And they said, hey, look, we stopped, since 2013, we have stopped 13 of these other attacks. And they said, look, we were due. We were due. It was going to happen. We do our best. But again, these types of lone wolf attacks are very, very difficult to stop. So what they're doing on that front, for the most part, is working. But again, you can't stop 100% of all terrorist attacks. Now, what's important to note is that this guy was born in Britain. He was not a refugee. He was not from Syria. He was not from Lebanon or any of those other countries. He was British. He was born there. He was a national. The same thing with Belgium. So what that means is that maybe we should focus on how people in those countries get radicalized. Instead of worrying about the refugees coming in and being terrorists, maybe we should worry about how people in these Western countries are getting radicalized by extremist ideology. That would be something to look into. And then you look into that and you try to figure out how to stop it. How is it happening? What are the reasons for it? And you've got to find a logical answer to try to put an end to this radicalization. How do you stop people from being inspired by terrorism? We don't know the answer yet. So it goes deeper than some of the suggestions that, of course, I see coming from the right wing. To ban the Muslims, you got to ban them. Well, you got to ban them from coming over. What do you do with the ones that are already there, that were there in the first place? Again, he was British born. He was a British national. What, you start kicking people out because of their religion? Well, that gets really dicey. That gets really dicey really fast, and that's a dark road that you really don't want to go down. Profiling somebody based on their religion, dangerous, and definitely against freedom. So if you want to ban Muslims, if you want to kick them out, well, you're not solving the problem. You might actually be making the problem worse. So what do? I mean, yes, it's obvious there is a problem with fundamentalism, especially right now, fundamentalist Islam. Now, like all fundamentalist religion throughout our histories, there is conflict. There are acts of terror. This is right now, it's the Muslims' turn. And it's because there's a lot of people getting radicalized. There's a lot of instability in the Middle East. We can go through all the different causes of terror, Saudi Arabia, the United States helping spread Wahhabist terrorism, them being our greatest ally in the region, or one of our greatest allies in the region. We could talk about all that. And I think you could have a lot of conversations on that. But what we have to do is we have to talk about why people are being radicalized in the first place, and then put a stop to it. So this is a deep conversation that we have to really look at logically to try to put an end to this. Because if we really want to stop these attacks, we need to find out why it's happening, how people are being radicalized, why they're being radicalized, and then put an end to it. Okay. So, all right, let's talk politics. In a surprising move, Democrats led by Chuck Schumer have announced that they will filibuster Neil Gorsuch. Interesting. So, according to the Washington Post, Schumer had told them if this nominee cannot earn 60 votes, a bar met by each of President Obama's nominees and George Bush's last two nominees, the answer isn't to change the rules, it's to change the nominee. Now, why does he talk about changing the rules? Well, I'll get to that. He added that Gorsuch was unable to sufficiently convince me that he'd be an independent check on Donald Trump. Gorsuch is not a neutral legal mind, but someone with a deep-seated conservative ideology. He was groomed by the Federalist Society, and it's shown not 1 inch of difference between his views and theirs. Okay, so look, on that stuff, yeah, he's absolutely right. And I think that filibustering is definitely the right thing to do. I would filibuster, I would get everybody together and make sure that there's no dissent in the ranks and filibuster him. But see, he's doing the right thing, I think, for the wrong reasons. Now, it's not so much that Gorsuch is to the right of Antonin Scalia, which he absolutely is, and that he loves big money in politics, he loves big corporations, he's a very corporate judge, he's very, very anti-choice, and being a pick from the Federalist Society, which is a very far-right think tank. It's not any of that. I mean, those on their own are great reasons to oppose Gorsuch, to block his ass. But see, there's another reason here. See, if the Democrats are successful in blocking him and the Republicans put up somebody else who's a little bit slightly more moderate on some things, then the Democrats would get him through. And see, that's what I have a problem with. That's the issue. This is a stolen seat. Plain and simple. By law, President Obama had a pick. You know who he picked? Merrick Garland. It was the Republicans' constitutional duty to give Merrick Garland a hearing. Not to vote for him, but to give him a hearing. And yet they failed to do that. Remember this number, 293. That's how many days the Republicans blocked Merrick Garland from even getting a hearing. Not a vote, but a hearing. They blocked President Obama's pick. The last president, a Democratic president, they blocked that guy's pick for 293 days. Not because Merrick Garland was a huge lefty or some leftist ideologue, crazy liberal socialist, whatever. No. Merrick Garland was center right. He was pro money in politics. He was pro corporation. I didn't like that pick. I didn't like Merrick Garland. I still don't like Merrick Garland. Now, of course, you compare him to this guy, Gorsuch. Well, Gorsuch is to the right of Antonin Scalia. Obviously, I'm going to like Merrick Garland a little bit better, but it's not about him. It's not even about Neil Gorsuch. It's about the fact that Merrick Garland deserved a hearing. And Republicans, what did they do? Obstruct. They spat in President Obama's eye. For the last year of his term, they did not give this guy a hearing. This is about the Republicans flagrantly breaking the rules in order to get what they want, when it suits them. Now, just like what the Republicans are currently threatening to do, what they're doing is if the Democrats dare to do a filibuster, they're talking about killing the filibuster. They're going to go nuclear. According to the Washington Post, senior Republicans have vowed that Gorsuch will be confirmed no matter what. Ooh, that's a threat. That's a threat. They basically, Washington Post says it's a threat that they will upend Senate tradition and change the chamber's rules so that the Supreme Court nominee can be confirmed on a simple majority. That's the nuclear option, right? Now, some of the Republicans are going to be like, hey, man, we got to do it because the Democrats, remember when the Democrats did it? Quote, the so-called nuclear option was used by the Democrats in 2013 to change Senate rules and make it easier to confirm executive branch nominees and picks to serve on lower federal courts. However, Supreme Court nominations were not included in that rules change. If it were, we would have Judge Merrick Garland. Just saying. So they didn't change those rules. So it's not exactly the same thing. Republicans can't go around and say, Obama did it. Obama did it. No, he did not. Here are the facts on that. Anyway. Now, he did so, by the way, because, again, the Republicans were blocking all of those different appointees. The Republicans are the party of nihilists. All they want to do is break shit. And it's kind of interesting. It's really funny, actually, to see them try to govern based on that nihilism. That's why they're not doing a very good job. Just saying. But anyway, this goes to why the Democrats, I think, are weak. Moderate Democrats are now facing pressure to support Gorsuch, have said that they are hoping that both parties can come to an agreement that leads to Gorsuch's confirmation and the preservation of current Senate traditions. So basically what they do is they spit in your eye. And not only do you still afford them a hearing, but you're also going to let so-called moderate Democrats vote if they want to confirm a judge that is more right-wing than Justice Scalia. Now, they make the justification, well, look, that's what my voters want me to do that. That's what my voters want. I live in a red state. Some of these red state blue dog Democrats are saying, hey, man, we got to do what the voters want. The voters want me to support Gorsuch. No. No, they actually don't. You know what the voters actually like? They like strength. They like it when you have strong politicians, not weak politicians. See, that's why Republicans win. They're strong. The people overwhelmingly do not like, and break it down poll by poll, issue by issue, they don't like Republican ideas. Their ideas suck, and they're super unpopular. But again, Republicans win because they're strong. They might not have good ideas, but they're good at messaging and they're strong. And that's the problem. Democrats actually have all the advantages, but they still lose because they are weak. See the problem here? See, not one senator during the Gorsuch hearing asked, hey, do you have a constitutional duty to give a hearing to the president's Supreme Court nominations? Do you or do you not? If they say yes, they'll say, well, why didn't you give a hearing for Garland? Why did you make him wait 293 days until a new president? Why did you completely ignore President Obama's last year in office, his pick for the Supreme Court? If that is your constitutional duty, why are you not doing it? Why? Why did you wait 293 days? Give me an answer. Give me an answer. I would keep hounding them on that question until they're forced to answer. And of course, if they said, well, no, we don't have a constitutional duty to give a hearing to any Supreme Court nominee, then you know what I would do if I were a Democrat? Okay, go. Let's pack up. I'll see you in 293 days. I'll see you then. Did they have that? Did that happen? Did they do that? No. Why? Because the Democrats are weak. They're too busy playing nice with people who are essentially nothing more than bullies. And then, of course, they let hacks like Joe Manchin get away with voting for Gorsuch if he chooses to. I don't know where he's going to go, but he certainly talked about it. Now, what you have to do is if you're going to filibuster, you're going to do it as a united front. Let the Republicans destroy the filibuster. Let them. Let them ram through whatever crazy person that they want. Then the Democrats can say, hey, look, this is what happens when you vote for Republicans. This is what happens when you vote for people that want to destroy the government. They destroy government. They destroy the rules. They don't follow the rules. They don't believe in the rules. That's what you should do. And look, the Republicans, no matter what, they'll if they break the rules, then they're gonna put in whoever they want. They're gonna make a mess regardless. Okay, well if they're gonna make a mess, then why not let them own it? See, the Democrats, they're doing what they're doing not because they're playing three-dimensional chess. They think they're so smart. They're trying to catch Gorsuch into some sort of rhetorical trap, or just to try to, keep the Republicans, keep that filibuster on the table for somebody else. You can't get more right-wing than Neil Gorsuch, who is to the right of Antonin Scalia. But let me give you an example of what the Democrats during this hearing was saying. Now, Senator Dianne Feinstein of California asked, "You've been very much able to avoid any specificity like no one I have ever seen before during this hearing." Ooh, so strong. So strong, Feinstein. Anything about how Merrick Garland ever got a hearing? Anything? No? Didn't think so. And Amy Klobuchar says, well, we're not going to vote for you. We're not going to let you do a vote until we figure out what your philosophy is. What's your philosophy? Well, why are you asking about philosophy when it's pretty obvious that none of that even matters? You know why? Stolen seat. This is a stolen seat. Plain and simple. But look, if you really want to know, well, his philosophy is about empowering corporations. That's pretty simple. And being very, very right-wing. He calls himself a constitutional originalist, by the way, which means that he follows what he believes to be the original intent behind the founders of the Constitution. Now, I don't know if he knows this, but the Founding Fathers were kind of anti-corporation. I mean, I have a quote here from Thomas Jefferson saying, quote, "I hope that we shall crush in its birth the aristocracy of our moneyed corporations." So, not exactly in favor of corporation, which dare already to challenge our government to a trial of strength and bid defiance to the laws of our country. You know, one thing that they fought against was the East India Corporation. They're not exactly favored by the revolutionaries, by the founding fathers, the colonists. But all this aside, this is the kind of questions the Democrats are asking. I mean, Sheldon Whitehouse at least referenced money in politics. But no. See, these hearings, the fact that we even have hearings for this nominee when we didn't have hearings before for Merrick Garland is an absolute disaster. It's a preemptive loss. And this is what happens when you have weak-ass Democrats. Look, we're going to get Gorsuch no matter what. Okay? So, buckle up. While the Republican Party comes to rob and loot this country, we're just going to have no choice but to sit back and watch. All right. All right. So that's what's going on. Disaster. Sad. Let's have fun. Actually, wait. Actually, let's go to Pelosi. I'm not done with my Democrat anger. So. Now I keep talking about the weakness of the Democratic Party and how they just don't seem to get it. Now, nothing symbolizes that more than this interview with Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi. Now, Anderson Cooper is going to ask her exactly who is leading the Democratic Party because they don't seem to know. The Democratic Party doesn't seem to have a leader. They don't seem to have a direction. They're a defeated party. They're lost. So Anderson Cooper, he's going to ask her, well, Nancy, you're in the Democratic Party. You're pretty high up. Who's leading your party? Who are the leaders of your party? Who's going to lead you to 2018 and 2020 and beyond? Well, let's take a look at her answer.
Well, President Obama was the president of the United States until just a matter of weeks ago. I don't think that he can be dismissed as the leader of the Democratic Party. Hillary Clinton did not win the election, but a respected leader. But we have leaders for all different aspects of it. The Democratic Party is a congressional party, and we have leaders in Congress. It is a gubernatorial party, and
but on the state level, it is a party which has suffered tremendous losses in the last couple of years.
It has, but we have a plan to address that.
we have a plan to address that. Really. Fascinating. Now, listen to her answer, though. Well, President Obama and Hillary Clinton, well, those are the leaders. Those are the leaders of the party. So, basically, Nancy, you're going to take two people under whom the Democrats have suffered devastating losses. Obama at the state and congressional levels, and then Hillary Clinton at the presidential level, and consider them your leaders. You know where President Obama's at? Dude, he's in Hawaii. He's surfing. He don't give a fuck. He's out there doing whatever he wants to do. He's not being a leader. When's the last thing President Obama did? He's not doing anything. Hillary Clinton disappeared in the woods after the election. That's your leaders? Sounds to me that you were doubling down on the same old failures that got us Donald Trump. See, the Democratic Party, what they need are new leaders. Not the same old, because we've seen where that goes. You run the same old tired leaders, and you're going to get the same old results. Those results do not work. And what are the results that I'm talking about? Well, let me show you what happened to the leadership of President Obama and Hillary Clinton. And this is what Anderson Cooper was talking about. The Senate, gone. Senate's Republicans. House, gone. That's been gone for a while. The Democrats went from a supermajority in Congress to a full Republican control. What about the Supreme Court? Supreme Court, gone. Gone. 69 out of 99 state legislatures, also gone. And then, of course, you have the presidency. Hillary Clinton lost to an orange buffoon, an idiot. That's embarrassing. How is Hillary Clinton considered a leader of anything after a debacle, that debacle of a campaign that she ran? How? And what are they going to do? Oh, we have a plan. We have a plan. Really, what's that plan? What, focusing on Tom Perez? No, he didn't even get mentioned as a leader. That's an interesting thing, by the way. What else was your plan? Taking corporate money? Taking more corporate money like they voted to do in the DNC? What's your plan? Doubling down on corporations? On your donors? Same old failed plans. Same old failed bullshit. Losers. And you wonder why nobody has confidence in the Democratic Party. You know what's sad? Donald Trump, he's at a 37% approval rating. The lowest of any president in his first 100 days. We haven't seen that since 1945. You know where George W. Bush is? Or was at this point in his presidency? He was at 50% approval rating. This is a guy who left office a disgrace in the 20s. One of the most unpopular presidents ever. But here comes Donald Trump, 37% in his first 100 days. And yet the Democratic Party polls even worse. Hillary Clinton polls even worse. You've got to be kidding me. How is that even possible, man? Look, the Democrats, they have every advantage. Policy, demographics, message. Progressive priorities are incredibly popular. Hell, even money. The Democratic Party outspent Donald Trump in this election 2-1. And still, you lost. You are pathetic losers, all of you. And of course, you notice in that, no mention of Bernie Sanders. Now Bernie Sanders, but he's not a Democrat. He ran as a Democrat, and he's a progressive. And you know what happened and what's more important than that? He made up a near 60-point lead on Hillary Clinton. This little socialist Jew from Vermont with frumpy hair went up against the most well-known politician of her lifetime and made up a 60-point gap and almost won the primary. He had millions and millions of votes, a lot of states, and guess what? He's also the most popular politician in America. And that you don't even mention him at all as a possible leader of the Democratic Party. There's also no mention of people like Nina Turner, Tulsi Gabbard. No progressives whatsoever are considered to be leaders. You know why? Because they don't want progressives leading the party. Not at all. No, what they want to do is they want to keep taking that corporate money because they don't care if they lose. Oh, don't worry. Keep giving me those donations and I'll continue to lose to morons like Donald Trump. Disgusting. And then, of course, when they get into office, they bow down to the right wing. Oh, we'll give you whatever they want. We'll give you token resistance. But on economic matters, on tax cuts for corporations, we'll bend over. Because we get paid by the same people. It's grotesque, man. We've got to replace these losers with real progressives who are actually going to fight. You want leadership? We'll show you real leadership. I can't wait until 2018 so we can primary their asses. And then, when we're done with that, we're coming for Donald Trump. And we're going to crush him. That's the power of progressives. Let's show him how it's done. Let's go get him. All right. Again, getting mad at the Democrats. How can you fail so badly? I just don't understand. All right. Now let's have some fun, huh? This is a fun story. Now, Donald Trump recently sat down for an interview with Time Magazine's Washington bureau chief, Michael Scherer. Now, in this interview, which hasn't aired yet, Trump tells Scherer that he is feeling pretty confident about his job, despite his approval ratings being in the toilet. Now, he's had a 37% approval rating. That is the worst for any president in this in this span of time of being president, right? He's only been president for less than 100 days, and he is at 37%. Disaster. Sad. Now, in the interview, Trump tells Scherer that, quote, "I'm a very instinctual person, but my instinct usually turns out to be right." Oh, really? That's fascinating. So, his instincts, huh? Well, let's talk about what he's been right about. So, he said that his inauguration was the biggest in history. Period, right? No. That didn't happen. It was actually, wasn't bad, but it was smaller than George W. Bush. And President Obama had 1.8 million people at his inauguration in 2008. Donald Trump had somewhere around 250,000. And not bad, but definitely not the best in history. And he had Sean Spicer go out and lie about it. Hilarious. So, but that was his gut feeling. So obviously he was right about that. His instincts were right. What about his instinct that there was voter fraud, widespread voter fraud in the general election? There's no evidence of that. None whatsoever. He lost a popular vote. That's math. Sad. Now, I know. What about the White House wiretapping? Well, actually, he was asked about that. And this is what he said. He told Scherer that, adding that he was unbothered by FBI Director James Comey's recent testimony to the House Intelligence Committee dismissing his claim of wiretapping, saying, quote, "Well, I know it happened. You know how? I have articles saying that it happened. I have articles. Since somebody wrote it, it must be true." Oh, my God. Child, man. Baby. Hey, Donald, just because you have an article from Breitbart doesn't mean that that article is true. Remember, not everything you read is actually true. Just saying. Well, now, remember, Donald Trump, he doesn't do a lot of reading, but he does watch 6 hours a day of television. Now, mostly he watches CNN and Fox News. Now, what he does read is, well, things like Breitbart. When aides slip in articles from Breitbart and InfoWars. After all, Breitbart, I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Because you have Steve Bannon, who was the former CEO of Breitbart. So slip in a couple of them articles from my old company. Now, what about where the wiretapping story came from? Well, that came from radio shouter Mark Levin. Yeah, he's definitely a shouter. Now, what's funny is that whenever I see or hear Mark Levin, I actually think of Master Shake from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's a strange comparison, but there's a reason for that. There was somebody out there, and you should probably check it out, that did YouTube videos where they had Mark Levin's voice dubbed over Master Shake. It's hilarious. Master Levin is what it's called. Hilarious. But anyway, back to the article. And this is my favorite part. Toward the end of Scherer's roughly 20-minute phone call, Trump was apparently not happy with the implications of Shearer's line of questioning. And he said, quote, "I can't be doing so badly because I'm president and you're not." Oh my God. Child. Baby. Sad. Who's president? Who's the president? I'm the president. I must not be doing so bad because I'm president. You're not. Ha ha. He said this to a reporter. He wasn't running against the reporter. It's not like he was running. I mean, look, he is super, super lucky, by the way, that the DNC sabotaged Bernie Sanders and put him against the weakest, most disliked Democratic politician in America. He is so fucking lucky. You know who's the most popular politician in America? It's not Trump. It's Bernie Sanders. And look, I can't say with 100% certainty, but it is my belief that Bernie Sanders would have crushed this absolute man-child, this baby. So you can go and say, I'm president. But the reality is, most people didn't actually want you as president. Most people don't like you. And the most popular politician, and you will never be that, is Bernie Sanders. And that guy would have crushed you hard. Sad. All right. I have one more story here for you guys. And that is, well, let's see. I might get a little angry. We'll see. All right. Now, right now, politicians in Oklahoma are debating House Bill 1549. Now, this bill would prohibit anyone from seeking an abortion in the case of a genetic abnormality. So, that's a weird part of this bill. It's very, very controversial because especially some abnormalities do happen. And look, part of being pro-choice is saying, look, I don't want to have a baby if there are certain genetic abnormalities. Now, it sounds cold, it sounds cruel, but at the same time, this is a right under choice. Some people just aren't equipped to handle children that are born with genetic defects. I don't like the fact that they do abortions on these people. But again, part of being pro-choice is saying this is your choice because it is your body, it is your life. And I do not want the government to dictate what you do with your life. Now, unfortunately, there are politicians out there that do think, no, I do want to control I do want to make decisions for your life. I do want to make decisions for you and your body. So I'm going to put in these anti-abortion restrictions telling you what you can and can't do with your body. Now, one of them is George Faub. Now, he authored this bill in Oklahoma. And during the debate, he's going to have a Democrat, Corey Williams, step up and basically ask him, because there are no exceptions for rape and incest in this piece of legislation, whether or not rape and incest are the will of God. So let's take a look at this video because I love this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, is rape the will of God?
Well, you know, if you read the Bible, there's actually a couple of circumstances where that happened. And the Lord uses all circumstances. I mean, you know, you can go down that path, but you know, it's a reality, unfortunately.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is incest the will of God?
Same answer. Doesn't deal with this bill.
Gentleman's recognized for a follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With all due respect, I think it absolutely is on point. You won't make any exceptions for rape. You won't make any exceptions for incest in this, and you are proffering divine intervention as the reason why you won't do that. And so I think it is very important this body wants to know, myself personally, whether you believe rape and incest are actually the will of God.
You know, it's a great question to ask. And obviously, if it happens in someone's life, it may not be the best thing that ever happened, you know. But So you're saying that God is not sovereign with every activity that happens in someone's life and can't use anything and everything in someone's life, and I disagree with that.
Okay, so basically what he says is that rape and incest, according to his logic, since God is sovereign in everything in your life, because he just said that he disagreed with the notion that God is not sovereign, is that rape and incest are the will of God. Now, I mean, look, it's pretty simple, right? He's saying that you can't get an abortion based on his religion because that rape, well, that just happened for a reason. That's what God willed. Huh. Well, everything happens for a reason. It must be ordained by God. So then God wanted you to be raped. Well, that's a shitty God. I don't like that God. That God's kind of a dick. I mean, not only rape, but forced to have that baby that you never wanted in the first place. And look, that baby could have been, not only created from rape, but created from incest as well, which can cause genetic abnormalities, by the way. So I guess that's how it kind of that's how it plays into this whole debate. So this is what happens when you follow their logic, right? And try to use religious justifications to deny people the right to a safe abortion, the right to a choice. Now the thing is that I'm the belief of that religion should not matter in public policy. Shouldn't be a part of this. Get your Bible out of my government. We'll get our government out of your Bible, but you get your Bible out of my government. Now you have the right to your own personal beliefs, but you do not have the right to legislate that belief onto everyone else, especially since the fact that we're a secular society and not everyone believes the things that you do. Now, he's also fundamentally wrong on the fact of, well, it's in the Bible, check your Bible. Maybe you should check your Bible, Mr. Faust. In the case of abortion, God is actually pro-abortion. Read Numbers. It tells you basically how to make a concoction that will cause your wife or your girlfriend, whatever, if she's cheating on you, she will have a miscarriage, which essentially is an abortion. So you're giving this concoction, and if she's unfaithful to you, she has an abortion. What about the right to life? Well, not for that cheating whore. That's what that is. No, what this whole debate comes down, so-called debate, comes down to is taking away women's choices over their own bodies using religion as a cover. Now, if you really believed in Christianity, then you'd be like, well, I mean, the Bible says abortion's okay, so I guess it's okay. However, if they choose to have the baby, well, then if you're a real Christian, you would make sure that that baby is fed, clothed, and has shelter. You don't see a lot doing that or advocating for that. In fact, you see a lot of so-called Christians that are in favor of taking away things like WIC and healthcare and food stamps for children. Now, some of them actually do, though, believe in this stuff, and I respect those who do for actually being consistent. I don't agree with them, but at least they're consistent, right? But the people who are not, well, a lot of these anti-choice crusaders that we've talked about, in a lot of cases, they're absolute hypocrites. I mean, for example, there are stories of people that were standing outside of abortion clinics yelling at, scared young women who were going to do the procedure, and then later on going into that same clinic for an abortion. Hypocrites, right? Or you have high-profile cases like, for example, Scott Desjardins, who had a mistress, got her pregnant, oh, you need to have an abortion, and then, of course, his wife, oh, you need to have an abortion too. Hypocrite. The hypocrisy knows no bounds for some of these people. The whole point, though, is that if you really believe in this stuff, that every sperm is sacred, whatever, okay, well, that's fine. You can believe that. You can believe whatever you want. I'm fine with that. But where that stops being fine with me, and a lot of people who are pro-choice, is when you try to start legislating those personal beliefs onto everyone else. That's the problem. There should be a choice, and it should be it should not be left up to the state to go and decide. And that's the whole point. That's what makes it pro-choice. Okay. that's it. I know it's a little bit of a short show today, but that's all I've got. I do want to sort of address what's going on with healthcare. The healthcare bill is up for vote today, and it looks like the Republicans right now do not have the votes to pass Trump care. Hilarious. There were actually some articles out earlier today that I was reading, and what they're finding a problem with is, of course, the Freedom Caucus. The people that are on the far right that keep moving the goalposts. I was reading this from CNN. They kept moving the goalposts and saying, oh, we want more conservative things. We don't think it kicks the poor in the face enough. So we want to make it, we want to make it even more conservative than it already is. And then you have some of the more moderate Republicans, which surprisingly they do exist. Because, they do exist, at least on this issue, that are like, hey, let's not kick the poor in the face that much. Let's add in a couple of things that are popular so we don't get crushed in 2018. But when we don't get crushed in our elections. So, it's insane. But right now, they need 21 Republicans in order to pass it. Because no Democrats are expected to join in with the Republicans and pass this piece of legislation. They need 21, and so far, 23 have said we're not voting for it, and there are still 4 more that are like, we're probably not going to vote for it, but we're going to see what kind of concessions that they give us. So, it looks like I might have been right the other day when I said Trump care is likely not going to pass, at least as it is. And when you think about the political implications of that, that is going to be a PR nightmare. That's why you had Trump out there saying, "Hey, you better pass this, or you're gonna get crushed in the next election." That's got some of those moderate Republicans all worried. So hilarious. All right. Anyway. Since I did start a little late, maybe I'll open up the lines. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. 989, let's see, 796-4975. If you have a question or a comment or want to do something, I'll give you some extra time because we started so late. So let's do that. So 989-796-4975. Call in if you have a question or a comment. Or a news story that maybe I missed today that you want to talk about, or you want that you want me to comment on, or that you want to comment on, let me know. We'll take that call. So with that, I'll just wait for you guys to call in, and I'll see what else we can get on the. Well, I'll take a look at some of the comments as well while I'm waiting for somebody to call in. So. Let's see. And yeah, that's I actually took the call question from somebody in the audience. So thank you. Here we go. We got a caller. Hello, caller. You're on the air. What's your comment, question, or whatever?
What's going on? Whoa, I'm echoing really bad.
Skype.
The Chris Lapaco.
Oh, hey, Chris. What's up, man?
What's going on, man? Hey, I'm listening to your show, and you're doing a great job today. Love it as always.
Thank you, man.
The point you're making about Neil Gorsuch is I hate it when, like, Sheldon Whitehouse came out the other day on CNN, and he's like,
right.
Oh, well, 5-4 decisions might be bad in the future, and we don't know if he's going to be independent and all this stuff. And it's like people watching CNN in the morning for 5 minutes at a time, they don't hear that.
Right.
They stole the seat. That's
right.
it. Bumper sticker talk, right? And you got to dumb it down. You see Donald Trump's in office, we need to dumb things down a little bit because that's working, right?
It does work.
And one last thing, and then I'll get off there. When you make any other argument like that, they can fix it, quote unquote, and then get the person through. So, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and we need to just say that seat is stolen. and we're not giving it back. And if you want
Right.
to blow up the filibuster, then that's on you. So great job, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you
Yep.
for calling in.
Bye.
All right, 989-796-4975. I think about that. I mean, Chris brings up a great point. This legitimizes this theft, and that's what it is. It's a theft of a seat. They stole this thing from President Obama, from Merrick Garland. You can't just get away with that. We can't just let them get away with it, and it frustrates me to no end when you see the Democrats asking stupid questions and trying to trap them in little rhetorical tricks. Like, oh, we're going to tie you to Trump. Well, really? Well, that didn't seem to work during the election. Since a lot of the Democrats got crushed in 2016, not just Hillary Clinton, but a lot of the other Democrats that were running got crushed, even some progressives as well. And that sucks, but there was a lot of people that tried to tie these other these other Republicans to Donald Trump. You know what? It didn't work. They got destroyed. That is not a good that is not good politics. Good politics is exactly what Chris was saying. You got to make it simple. And being simple doesn't necessarily mean stupid. It just means you're to the point. You're direct. This is a stolen seat. The Republicans have stolen this from President Obama. President Obama was still a fairly popular president. He left with a 50, 60 point approval rating? One of the more popular presidents to leave office? Just tie it to that. Say, hey, the Republicans stole this from President Obama. President Obama was duty bound to be able to make a pick. And the Republicans said, no, we're going to block you for 293 days. The Democrats frustrate me more than the Republicans sometimes. We should be talking about progressive priorities right now. Instead, what are we talking about? What do I always have to get on the Democrats for? Be strong, be progressive, be what you said you're going to be, defend the American people. Talk about the middle class. Talk about economic issues. Get away from identity politics that has failed every single time. That it's tried, it is failing. It's a disaster. Your party is a disaster. Fix yourself. Do something different. Get different leaders. Do something. Stop taking corporate money. 989-796-4975. Call in. We're going to do a few more calls. So get your time in, man. While you can. There's nothing more frustrating than our political situation right now. And seeing this party do the same exact thing every time. Oh, we're losing, we're going to go more to the right. We're going to get into the arms of the corporations even more. Oh, there's a progressive populist that a lot of people are loved, that is energizing a lot of people. Let's crush him and run the establishment. Losers. Sad. And you know, it's all based on the money. All they want is that donor money. They're addicted. It's an addiction. You got to cut it off. You've got to cut off the addiction, and or right now, with Justice Democrats, kick out the junkies. Because that's all they're doing. They're spending 6 hours a day on the phone, begging donors for cash. Kick them out. Kick out the junkies. I know there's a lot of people that want to create a new party. I get it. And that's not a bad idea. Working outside the system, working inside the system, I think they're both. I think those are both good ideas, and I think they're both going to be effective in some way. Because think about it. Justice Democrats, they don't take corporate money. They're against corporate money. They're against things like Citizens United. You get enough of them in there, and at some point, we're going to get money out of politics. Well, that helps third parties too. But if you can't go through the Democrats, and you get a successful, viable third party to take over, to take the place of the Democrats, then they can also get money out of politics. Because you can be assured that any of these left third parties, that's one of the things that they're going to have to push, is getting that money out of politics. And of course, that's the main problem. That's the one thing I think that is holding third parties back the most, is that corporate money. All right. Anyway, 989-796-4975, TYT Nation on Skype. I'll give you another couple of minutes. Call in if you want. Ask me a couple questions. If not, we'll wrap it up at 10 after. So hurry if you can. Or else I'm just going to sit here and rant about the Democrats all day. And you don't want that. All right. Now again, just to remind you, no show tomorrow. We do no live show. We'll have some clips up. We'll see. Well, we'll see about making some clips. I don't know how long my meetings are going to be, so we'll see what happens. But again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you, Chris, for calling in. That was kind of cool. Super cool, actually. So thank you for that. Thank you for watching. Still waiting for another call, man. We got a couple more minutes. You can squeeze in that one more call. So please do. Bryce, I see you in the chat, man. You always call into Benjamin Dixon. You go ahead and call in here. I promise I'll be nice. So, I don't know. What do you guys think is going to happen with Trump care? I mean, do you think it's going to pass? What's going to happen afterwards if it doesn't pass? I think it's going to be an absolute disaster for the Republicans. Because think about it, they've talked for 7 years about a repeal and replace program. Now, of course, they didn't have a plan up until lately because they were kind of forced to have a plan. And that's why you're seeing, of course, so many Republicans in the Freedom Caucus fighting against this whole thing. Fighting against this plan because, no, you don't understand. All we wanted to do is we wanted to eliminate Obamacare so we could get rid of the taxes. Well, this new bill, yes, it gets rid of the taxes, but goddamn it spends money on poor people, and we also don't like that. We don't like the fact that we're taking care of poor people. No, we not only want to cut our taxes, but we want to kick poor people in the face. We don't believe in that stuff. That's what the Freedom Caucus is all about. And there was another story out, too, where you had the Koch brothers saying, if you vote in favor of this bill, we're going to spend our money and we're going to primary you. God, I wish that's what the Democrats were doing. I mean, the only groups that you see out there, I mean, the brand new Congress, you've got We Will Replace You, we've got Justice Democrats now that are now finally saying, no, if you do, if you agree with the Republicans on certain things, then we will primary your ass. Finally, we're starting to see some Democrats. Of course, the thing about Republicans is they actually like primaries. They actually encourage primaries. But the Democrats are saying, no, we're not going to primary anybody. That, you know what, that hurts us in the general election. No, we can't have primaries. No. Of course, they want us to be centrist. That's what the voters want. No. The voters want somebody who's progressive. The voters want somebody who's going to look out for them, not look out for giant multinational corporations. The Democratic Party right now is a joke. All right. Anyway, that's it. Okay. Now I gotta go. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for being patrons. The ones who are patreon.com/TYT Nation. If you want to help keep us independent and corporate sponsored free, thank you for staying long and being okay with us being so late today. This is not a normal thing. This does not normally happen. So I just want to put that aside and just let you know that normally we are on time. Normally we do a good job on being on time, but that happens sometimes. So it can't be perfect all the time. But thank you for sticking with me regardless. So I appreciate that. Again, no show tomorrow. No live show tomorrow. So we'll be back Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern this time. So, tune in then. back to our. We're gonna try to do a more uniform time. Now that Ron is gonna be able to do a more uniform time, I got to check with him, of course, and see what's going on with him. But he'll be on Tuesdays now. Time to be announced. So, again, thank you everybody. Love you guys, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, TYT Nation, and have a great weekend. We'll see you later.